secretly gave him a sum of money as compensation. He has the right to refuse. If you forcibly dismiss him and force him to take responsibility, the media will take advantage of it and cause a stir. The stock price will also fluctuate. More and more people began to agree. I agree with the madam's opinion. Such a risk does exist. I think so too, Su Qinjing thought to herself. She's still the madam after all. Su Qinjing spoke up now. You say you're right, and she says she's right. This kind of debate won't produce any practical results. Let's vote on it. Now, those who support my proposal, raise your hands. Mrs. Su shouted. I'd like to see who dares. One person raised their hand in support of Su Qinjing. Mrs. Su saw it and thought. Only one person raised their hand. That's a miracle. But then, a few more people raised their hands. Mrs. Su secretly felt that something was wrong. Wait a minute. There's more. No, it can't be. Yao Honglin, even Chen Haomin, Wen Shuang, Song Zhuanming, and Chen Lei. Mrs. Su couldn't control her anger and shouted, I don't care about the others. Chen Lei, after you graduated from university, you joined the group. I promoted you from a financial staff to your current position. I need you to give me an explanation. Su Qinjing stopped her. Mom, don't affect the results of the vote. Continue voting. Mrs. Su put her hand to her forehead. In the conference room, people were still discussing heatedly. Su Qinjing recalled what Wu Chen had said. Not everyone needs to take the initiative to speak. Some people only need you to show your attitude and strength, and they will turn around and support you with the majority. Su Qinjing thought to herself, it seems that I have to be tougher. Su Qinjing tapped on table. Does anyone else support me? At that moment, the group's most respected and closest elder, Sheng Dang, coughed and raised his hand to vote. Mrs. Su was surprised. Dang, you. Sheng Dang interrupted her sister-in-law. Qinjing has grown up. Look at Qinjing. Mrs. Su stood up in anger and slammed the table. Look at what? Humph, there are only 9 votes. It hasn't even passed half. I want to see who is trying to make things difficult for me and Lao Su. According to the board's resolution, major matters required a 2/3 vote to pass, while general resolutions required a simple majority of 1/2. Today's resolution was a minor matter, so it only needed 1/2 to pass. That meant that Su Qinjing was currently short 1 vote. Su Qinjing slammed her hand on the table. Everyone turned their eyes to Su Qinjing at this moment. Su Qinjing was recalling Wu Chen's words. Actually, the key is not to control the board of directors, but to make your mother give up. The next step is the final move. Can it resolve the hostility or not? Su Qinjing felt that this was the moment. Su Qinjing said to Mrs. Su, Mom, do you absolutely have to do that? Mrs. Su looked into Su Qinjing's eyes. I do that. What am I afraid of? I'm your mother. If I can't control you, then who can? Su Qinjing also replied calmly, you can prevent me from passing this resolution. You are the chairman's wife. They all listen to you. Is it good for me, for the Su family, or for the group? I hope you can think clearly. What are you trying to do today? When will our family stop being controlled by outsiders? Mrs. Su thought for a moment. If she didn't let Su Qinjing pass the resolution, then from now on, there would be a huge conflict within the Su family that couldn't be resolved for some time. The company board of directors would be directly divided into 2 factions. The group would be in chaos, business would not go smoothly, and the stock price would plummet. Qinjing would have no hope of inheriting the company. In the end, the company would go bankrupt and close down. Mrs. Su put her hands on the table and then turned and left. Mrs. Su thought to herself, we're family, why do things have to go to this extent? That's enough. Su Qinjing calmly asked the others, who else supports me? Who opposes? Everyone raised their hands in agreement. The resolution is passed. Su Qinjing announced, meeting adjourned. From this moment on, Su Qinjing and the Jinfu group had changed hands. On the other side, Lu Guangnian was calling Wu Chen for help. Little brother, you have a favor to ask. Wu Chen asked back, Director Lu, do you have something to do? Lu Guangnian scratched his head. Little brother, to be honest, I really need your help. Wu Chen was making calculations. It's still early for the appointment with the spy. So Wu Chen agreed, I'll go. The 2 of them agreed to meet at the Chengxi Yufulu. As soon as Lu Guangnian saw Wu Chen, he ran over and patted his shoulder. "Little brother, you are here, do you know?" Lu Guangnian paused for a moment and then uncovered his hair for Wu Chen to see. "Look, my head." Wu Chen asked, "What's wrong with your head? Was beaten by your first love?" Lu Guangnian hurriedly took Wu Chen's hand and said, "Isn't it obvious? She used a teacup to hit me and chase me away. Is there any other way for me to make her and son accept me?" Wu Chen said calmly, "Director Lu, don't rush this matter. You can slowly change her with time. It will be fine. Sit down first." Lu Guangnian said in a hurry, "Little brother, you know my situation. It's my son. I can't wait." Wu Chen still calmly sat down and poured tea. "Tell me what you've done." Lu Guangnian began to recall what he had done. He went looking for her. He bought her flowers, a diamond ring, a necklace, and a Ferrari for son. Wu Chen frowned and said, "Boss Lu, you make people feel like you're throwing money at them. She has almost experienced poverty and hardship before, and now she probably won't come back to you because of money. The things you do are humiliating and disgusting in her eyes." Lu Guangnian suddenly remembered Mo Huafang's words. "Lu Guangnian, if you dare to come again, we will move." "Can't we move away to avoid you?" Lu Guangnian seemed to have a sudden realization. "So that's it. It's not surprising. Little brother, do you have any solution?" Wu Chen replied, "There are two ways. The first is to start with your son. It will take some time, because Mo Huafang's son will gradually forgive you. The second one is very fast, and it may even be done today." Lu Guangnian hurriedly chose the second one. "I chose the second one." "Little brother, tell me how to do it." Wu Chen hesitated. "This way is very fast, but—" Lu Guangnian took out his phone and said, "Little brother, don't be hesitant. If you can do it, money is not a problem. I transfer it now." Wu Chen explained, "Mr. Lu, not everything is related to money. The method is not complicated, but you just have to endure some humiliation." Lu Guangnian immediately replied, "I'm not afraid of humiliation. How can I do it?" Wu Chen leaned over to Lu Guangnian. "Mr. Lu, if you can make up your mind to let go of your dignity, we can do this." Then the two of them went to Ma Huafang's home, Huayuan Tranching, Jingjiang Road, South District. Wu Chen was in the surveillance room of the neighborhood. Wu Chen thought to himself, "Mr. Lu, let's see how you're going to do." At this moment, Lu Guangnian was standing at the door of Ma Huafang's house, said, Xiaofang, are you home?" "Xiaofang," Ma Huafang snapped, "I'm not home, I'm dead. Don't come again in the future." Lu Guangnian continued to plead, "Xiaofang, don't do this. Open the door first and I will." Ma Huafang suddenly opened the door and shouted, "What are you doing here? How much longer do you want to make a fuss? Get lost." Lu Guangnian hurriedly raised the bag of food in his hand. "Don't worry, I brought you food, pancakes and fruits. We used to eat this when we were poor." Ma Huafang angrily threw the bag of food away. "I don't need your things, go away." Lu Guangnian hurriedly bent down to pick it up. Just then, Lu Guangnian's son, Amakadui, walked out. "What are you picking up? Can you go away quickly?" Ma Huafang turned around and scolded her son. "Mind your own business, go back to your room," Lu Guangnian hurriedly advised. "Xiaofeng, don't be angry in front of your son." So they dragged this on for half an hour. After a while, the security guard of the building walked over. "We have been watching on CCTV for half an hour. Do you know that you are disturbing the neighbors? Someone has already reported it." Lu Guangnian hurriedly admitted his mistake. "It's my problem." The security guard continued, "If you want to quarrel, go home and do it. Don't disturb the residents at the front door." Ma Huafang denied. "Who is related to him? I don't know him. He came to my door to harass me. Let's take him away quickly." The security guard turned to Lu Guangnian and said, "Did you hear that? She said she doesn't know you. Don't make trouble anymore. Go away." Lu Guangnian said angrily, "I'm not leaving. I'm talking to my wife. Get out of the way." The security guard said again, "This old man is even cursing." Lu Guangnian shook off the security guard's hand and said, "What's wrong with cursing you? Get lost. Why should you care about a couple arguing?" Saying this, the security guard shouted, "This old man is not only cursing, but also beating people. He made the first move. The security guards of the whole building kicked Lu Guangnian continuously. Lu Guangnian said as he was beaten,